Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. It's that time. We are here with the weekend edition of the Cabral Concept. We refer to it as our Cabral HouseCalls, where hopefully I get to come into your home for just a few moments, share with you some Q&A from the community, which I really think that we could all benefit from. So one, I love hearing all the questions that come in. And when I see these repeat questions kind of over and over, yes, I always kind of refer back to you or to previous shows, but I know that this is something that our community, they really want to know about. And it's from people, again, all over the world. So we work with people literally in, all over the world, and we actually ship labs and protocols to 27 countries around the world too. And again, if you ever want to learn more about the practice, you can just find that at stephencabral.com if you go to /shop, it'll just take you over to Equalife, so you can just do that. So again, we're here to help. That's the bottom line. We have an amazing health coaching team. We have people that answer your questions on social media, in the comments, in our private Facebook group, everywhere that you could possibly imagine. And that's us just trying to do our best to get good information out there, because the bottom line is we need to combat a lot of not so good information. And so what we try to do is just share with you what we know to be true without any hype, without any marketing behind it or anything like that. And just, again, the next step. And so you can always choose the protocol, the practitioner, whatever works for you, but you need to know where to start. And that's what the Cabral HouseCalls are hopefully all about. All right. So having said that, let's get into the show. We are about 12 weeks behind in your questions. So as always, if you want to get your question answered and not wait 12 weeks for me to answer it on the show, just write in at cabralsupportgroup.com and they'll hopefully get to you the same day. All right, let's dive in. First question is from Richard. Richard says, "Hi, Dr. Cabral. I've recently been looking for a new blender, and it seems like, much to my surprise, all the decent premium or high-end blenders have a plastic jar. After some time of doing research, I decided on purchasing the Ninja, but then I found out that the jar is made of a particular the blender is made out of plastic. This is really concerning to me because something that I use every day, I don't want to be ingesting chemicals from the plastic. I know a lot of these blenders claim that the plastic is BPA-free, but from what I understand, when BPA is not used, they use other chemicals that are just as bad, if not worse, than BPAs. I also mix in hot water from my morning smoothies to warm them up, since I use a lot of frozen fruits, so that would make things more problematic. I also use hot water to clean the blender, since sometimes there are stains I need to remove. Are these legitimate concerns? Would love your thoughts on potential alternatives." All right. Happy to help in two regards. One, I totally agree. All we do is go from one bad plastic to another bad plastic. This one just contains maybe less of the bad, such as BPAs. The bottom line is this: when you heat plastic, it becomes a problem. Hard plastics that are not as easily heated are typically not as much of a problem. So I don't have an issue with a hard plastic blender. Again, just choose your favorite. I have all my favorites at stephencabral.com/resources, all the blenders and everything, every product that I use in my practice and for my family. So the bottom line is this: when you're putting hotter water in with a blender with ice, like frozen fruit, honestly, I don't think it's going to get it up to like hot. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. You can definitely use like warm to hot water. You just can't put them in your dishwasher. So I feel comfortable with washing it with soap and water, or for the most part, I mean, it's just me. I use hot water. I kind of rinse it around, maybe a little bit of soap and sponge in there, but I use it right away with a little spray nozzle, and I get it all out because I don't want to soap my blender. So that's what I do. I would not recommend putting them in the dishwasher where it gets really hot with steam and all that. So that's one. But again, let me give you a different vantage point as well. The Vitamix, which is obviously uber expensive, right? It's the most expensive. It is the best blender. I mean, like, again, I've used them all. I really have. My Blendtec blew up. Literally, it shot out a piece of plastic when a frozen banana hit it. It was right at my stomach height. It'd be right where my daughter's literally face and eye were. It was not a good scene. So, and it literally just shattered out probably a bigger than a quarter size piece. The Vitamix is my pick. And again, I have no affiliation with Vitamix. So that's that. And Vitamix makes an aluminum blender. So a stainless steel one. Sorry, not aluminum, stainless steel. So if you want one that you're not going to get any plastics, go with the stainless steel Vitamix. All right, next up is Kristen. Kristen says, hello, I've learned and been helped so much through you. Oh, thanks, Kristen. After the virus, my chest feels so much pressure. I went to a cardio doctor and it all checks out. I do have the MTHFR. I read that homozygous variants in some heterozygotes may see a decrease in metabolic pathway that converts folate to folic acid into active forms. There can be a buildup of homocysteine, which has been linked to cardiovascular issues. I'm trying to turn over every leaf I can to get the bottom of the random pressure when I lay down. Is it possible they are related, or is there another connection? I've done 5-year protocols within a year, and I feel significant improvement, to which I'm so grateful for you and your staff. Thank you, Kristen. I appreciate that. I'm really glad that you are feeling better. So here's the thing. MTHFR is the methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase. Basically, we look at what are called the single nucleotide polymorphisms, the SNPs. You don't have to worry about any of those words. They're not going to be on a quiz. Homozygous means that you have 2. You received 1 mutation from each parent. Heterozygous means you received 1 from 1 parent. So when you have this, you don't convert over not just Bs, but mainly it's folate. B6 and B12 are part of that as well. It's important to look at it for methyl factors like methylcobalamin, B12. But let's just talk about methylfolate. So it's true. If you're heterozygous, well, you're about like 30%, they say, occluded, which means you don't convert about 30% as well. And then with homozygous, it's somewhere around 2/3 to 70%. Now, that, again, I can't, I have to give my line here. I cannot provide you with any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, medical diagnosis on this podcast, nor would I. That is for the realm of conventional medicine only. All right. So, the thing is, I think, speaking as someone with MTHFR, I think that we oftentimes give it too much credit. If you look up MTHFR on StephenCabral.com/podcast, you'll see I've talked about it many times. It's never the thing. It's part of the thing, but it's never the thing, right? So if you're using something like the daily nutritional support or the daily activated multivitamin by Equalife, we formulated it so you get all of your methyls. You get your methyl donors. You're good. Like, you're good. If you need to add more, you can use an activated B complex at lunch and at dinner. And then for sure, then it's not going to be an issue, right? I mean, like, that's it. Like, you're literally giving yourself the methylated folate, the methylcobalamin, the trimethylglycine, right? So if you're worried, again, I can't provide medical advice, but certainly daily nutritional support and an activated B complex. Those are 2 of our most popular products. People use them all the time. And so do I. So does my wife. So do my kids, right? So like, we all use them. And that's that. So what do you want to be looking at? Well, you want to check out my podcast on the virus at StephenCabral.com/podcast. Check out the shows on long COVID, even if you don't have it, or any of the other issues that are related to inflammation. We need to rebalance that inflammation overall. So you can run something like the Big 5 Labs or the starter kit, something like that. Look at where the imbalances are. Begin to work on how the rain barrel overflowed, and that this virus then is actually now expressing a greater amount of the inflammation that may have been right below the rain barrel before it overflowed, right? So if you haven't read the rain barrel effect, read the rain barrel effect and run the labs, or just begin the daily foundational protocol, level 2 or level 3, with the immunity protocol. Again, I'm not providing any medical advice. It's what I would do for me or someone that I just got this much information for, okay? All right, Darren's up next. Good day, Dr. Bral. I see an Ayurveda. I think it's Ayurvedic practitioner. They extol the benefits of ghee. I use it, but recently started looking at the nutrition facts label, and all the grass-fed New Zealand-based ghee brands I've seen say they contain some trans fat. Is pure grass-fed ghee a trans fat concern? If ghee has trans fat, why is ghee called healthy? Or is it a misconception given New Zealand is often touted as favored by nature when making milk? With the climate, soils, plentiful water, generate an ideal environment for growing healthy grass in New Zealand livestock access open pasture year-round, meaning space to roam and follow their natural affinity outdoors. Care to make us understand. Thank you. Okay, yeah, happy to help. So first and foremost, Ayurveda did what Ayurveda had at the time. And ghee was one of those things that was nourishing for the body. It was also good for the liver. It can help with malic acid. There's a lot of benefits to ghee, but it doesn't mean that you need to use it. So again, just because Ayurveda recommends something, it doesn't mean that everybody needs to use it. You can, or you may not want to. I think ghee is a much healthier option than regular butter. I think the best place to get ghee is probably New Zealand from grass-fed, grass-finished cows. Now, it doesn't mean you can't get it from the US. I also think a goat-based version of it is great. I think there's trace amounts of trans fat, and you're going to get that some from nature as well. So I don't think they're probably doing anything wrong. The way that you make ghee is basically you're going to heat down butter, grass-fed butter, and then you're going to scoop off the solids, and what you're left with is the clarified butter. Ghee is clarified butter. So that's that. And I mean, that's what you're looking at with ghee. So then it's your choice to decide to use ghee or not. Although I think ghee is great, and I do use it in my household, I'm a bigger proponent of olive oil or maybe even some avocado, or just using the avocado itself instead of the avocado oil. I believe monounsaturated fats are absolutely the way to go. However, if you're using it for cooking, you can make an argument, but definitely check out the healthiest oil for cooking. I did a podcast on that at stephencabral.com/podcast, and I think you'll be surprised at what it was. And again, if you don't want to listen to the show, I would listen to the show though, because when I was doing the research, again, I do the research from an unbiased perspective, and lo and behold, it was olive oil. You might say, how could it be olive oil? Olive oil is not a saturated fat. That means it's going to break down faster than a saturated fat because it's a mono unsaturated fat. Listen, I get it. I understand. I go by the research. Here's why. It contains oleic acid, a powerful antioxidant, which does what? Prevents oxidation. So there you have it. Now you can check out the research on the show as well. So hopefully that was helpful. And there you have it. All right, Lori's up next. I'm considering enrolling in your certification program at the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute. I'm wondering, however, how to utilize it to practice legally in Illinois and many other states where it seems only a registered dietitian or CNS are allowed to make nutritional recommendations to clients. Thank you, Lori. All right, great question. We have clients that practice basically in every state. What does that mean? Well, we have actually 2 attorneys that provide advice to the integrative health practitioners. We have IHP Mastery, which goes in depth on it. We have a nonprofit that we're connected with. Again, they're completely nonprofit that they share what health coaches can do and can't do. And so you have to understand, in just some states, you're not allowed to give personalized recommendations, meaning like you can't tell them what to eat for every specific meal. But providing healthy guidelines is typically okay for absolutely every state. And you can use the IHP handouts and the EqualLife handouts and the EqualLife protocols, if you choose to, that were designed by medical doctors, and registered dietitians. So it's your choice. So we make it very straightforward for you. We can never obviously provide legal advice. I'm not an attorney. You have to ask an attorney, but the nice thing is, we do webinars with attorneys and we share all of that information. We've got lots of webinars inside of IHP too. So that's that. And that's exactly what we do is, you can't give personalized, meaning like you need to eat almonds in order to lower your diabetes. You can't say that. You can't do that, right? So what we do is we give our general nutritional guidelines, healthy eating principles. We give you those through IHP. We give you them through EqualLife as well if you decide to use EqualLife protocols. All right. Hazel's, and again, Lori, you can always get on the phone with someone as well. It's completely free, no obligations. Just head on over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org. We bring on 100 new students per month, and we'd love to have you. Hazel's up next. Hazel says, I'm at a loss for breakfast. I have high oxalates, a latex allergy, and spontaneous urticaria and dermographia. I am following your Mediterranean diet. Many thanks. I listen to all your podcasts. All right. Well, again, I totally understand. We work with people with the worst health-based issues. So we're talking about high oxalates. We're talking about latex-based allergy. And then we're talking about essentially hives, skin rash from foods. So we typically make it super simple. So we just want like 3 ingredients, right? So most people do is they'll start with just a half a scoop of our daily nutritional support, 16 ounces of water. They'll put in like 1 cup of wild blueberries, some ice if they want. Maybe they'll do a little less water if they want a little thicker. And they just blend it and they just drink it. That's it. And drink it slowly over the course of a half hour. So all there is in that is the daily nutritional support for your protein, all your vitamins, your minerals, and then you get your wild blueberries. And most people aren't necessarily super sensitive to those, but you just see how you do, right? How do? You just drink it slowly over a half hour. Any reactions? No. Okay, good. So we just do the 1 cup of wild blueberries. We now are at 1 scoop of the DNS. Any reaction? No. Okay. So we're just going to keep going by half a scoop till we get our 2 scoops of daily nutritional support. If at any point you had a reaction, you just go back down to the safe one for you, which might be 1 scoop when you go to 1.5, or you're fine at 1.5 scoops, but then when you go to 2, it's too much. Okay, you stay at 1.5 for another week. Try it again another week. Did it work? No, it didn't work. Okay, stay at 1.5. Go another 2 weeks. Did it work? Yeah, it worked. Good. Now you're at 2 scoops, right? Now you have your 2 scoops of daily nutritional support. You get 15 grams of protein. You get your carbohydrates in there. You're good to go. If you want to add more, you can add more. You just add on 1 more variable. So you might put in a healthy fat, or you might add more fruit. You might do whatever you want to do, right? Half a frozen banana. So that's how we do it. It's all about working variables. So Hazel, my highest recommendation is listen to my shows on urticaria, because you need to figure out what's causing it. Again, run the big 5 labs. It's the best thing that you can do. If you can't run the big 5 labs, run the starter kit. Those are at stephencabral.com/labs. Run them with any practitioner you'd like, or run them with us. It's up to you. And then listen to my podcast on the rotation diet, because I go in depth on, I think, what would be helpful for you as well. Remember, everything is figure-outable. Everything is figure-outable, all right? All right, one more question today is from Cody. Cody says, hi, Dr. Brawl. I get acid reflux, mild diarrhea, intestinal pain on my left side when I eat mildly spicy foods or citrus. I was curious if I had H. pylori. I did a stool test, upper endoscopy, and both came back negative. I also did an organic acids test, which shows high levels of yeast. Before I start the CBO protocol, I decided to try some supplements targeted towards H. pylori, just in case due to my symptoms. I've been taking Manuka honey, half a cup of cabbage juice, and L-Reuteri. I was fine for 2 weeks, but I'm now starting to get intestinal pain on my left side. I was planning to add in mastic gum, but I put that on hold now. Would you recommend stopping the H. pylori supplements and starting the CBO protocol? Compared to the CBO protocol, I've taken much less potent antimicrobials, antifungals in the past, which started out fine, but then gradually gave me intestinal pain. This is what led me to trying a targeted towards H. pylori, which testing says I don't have, in the hope that it would allow me to tolerate the CBO better, but I'm already having pain, which I suspect is from the strength of the Manuka honey. In addition, zinc supplements give me intestinal pain, but I also take DGL licorice, which is fine. Thank you for your time and advice. All right, Cody, totally get it, totally understand, and I want to keep this easy. So, if one, can't give you any medical advice, can't treat diagnose diseases with supplements, so I can't tell you about that. What I can say is this: if you test negative for H. pylori with an upper endoscopy and a stool test, you did a stool test, right? Yeah, I would say, let's not worry about H. pylori for now. Let's work on what we know you have, which is higher levels of yeast. So let's work on rebalancing the gut. Because even though cabbage juice can be great and Manuka honey can be great, what can happen? Well, Manuka honey has higher levels of fructans in it, so could be causing some fermenting with that yeast. It's possible, right? Absolutely possible, by the way. Manuka honey is great, but if you have an overgrowth of yeast, well, it can give you gas, bloating, diarrhea. All right, the next one is cabbage juice. Cabbage juice can be great, right? No doubt about it, but it's high in sulfur. If you're not someone that genetically breaks down sulfur very well, cabbage juice could cause an issue. All right, so here's what I want you to do. Again, I'm not giving you any medical recommendations. Here's what I would do, I should say. I would begin the CBO protocol exactly as stated. It's worked for, at least 10,000 people, and I would love for you to give it a go. Here's what happens, though. If you ever feel like you're taking a step back, first check to see, did I introduce any new foods over the last 3 days? If I did, take that food out, right? Because most likely it's food-based. We give you, though, a specific nutrition meal plan to follow with the CBO, which is very, very helpful because we take away a lot of those fermentable-based foods. Next, we add in very specific nutrients that I've formulated in my practice for more than a decade. That's how I came to this. It didn't happen overnight. It happened with working with thousands and thousands of people with gut issues. So that's what I want you to do. And then again, if it ever feels like, it's starting to become too strong, just go back down on your dosage. That's it. Go to the smallest possible dosage and definitely ask a question at Cabral supportgroup.com if you end up getting like a little bit of bloating or gas, or you can even look it up my podcast at stephencabral.com/podcast. It's just called titration. You know what? I am going to do a podcast on that if I haven't already, because I talk about it all the time. So I am literally going to do a podcast over the next couple weeks on titration if I haven't already. Again, I'm at today is episode 2360. So after 2,360 podcasts, I don't even know what I've talked about in the past. So we're going to do a show on titration, which is going to teach people exactly what happens. If it was working, then all of a sudden it became too much. You don't give it all up. You're on the right path. Don't stop. You just need to tweak. All right. So titration podcast, we'll go over that. All right. Thank you, everyone. Really great questions today. And like I said, all of your questions give me ideas for future shows. I appreciate you. This show is about you. It's about our community. So thank you so much for the support. Take care. I'll be back tomorrow answering more of our community's questions. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stephencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.